Savvy Central Radio, drawing out the best from our guests with your host, Christina
Nitchman. This is your host, Christina Nitchman. Each week, Savvy runs weekly broadcasts providing entrepreneurs and successful individuals a platform to express their dreams, hopes, lessons learned, expertise, and wisdom with the world. We start our show today with Dr. Archie Roberts, a noted former cardiac surgeon and professional football player. Dr. Roberts shares the importance of understanding good heart health, and also his recent film he took part in, Heartfelt. You can watch this amazing film today at takedowncholesterol.com. In the second half of the hour, we're joined by Nick Pereira, Coach Nick. Coach Nick helps entrepreneurs become freedompreneurs and conscious warriors. Hi, Dr. Archie Roberts. How are you? Welcome to Savvy Central Radio. How are you this evening?
I'm very good. We're happy to be with you.
I'm happy to have you with us. You're going to be talking about a very important topic this evening. You've been a cardiac surgeon for many years, and you're going to talk with regards to keeping your heart healthy. You are also a part of a recent documentary, the wonderful film Heartfelt. Before we head on over there, just share with our audience a little bit about your background and how you came to working as a cardiac surgeon.
Well, when I was a young man, at the age of 10, I told my parents I wanted to be two things. One was an NFL quarterback, and the second was a heart surgeon. I had the opportunity to do both, and it's been a fun life, and now I enjoy guiding others, and in particular, NFL active and former football players on healthy habits, and certainly controlling cholesterol is very important for heart health.
Yeah. Well, I'm just curious, what specifically drew you to football in particular as far as a sport?
Well, one thing was my father was my high school coach.
Aww.
So it was family, and he was very good about introducing me to football. He didn't force me to play. He didn't act aggressively to get me to participate. But he was there, and he was a coach, and he lived a sporting life, and it finally rubbed off on me.
Well, that's awesome. And I was really, really intrigued. You are the founder of the Living Heart Foundation, and I recently saw some of your documentary that you were part of, and I was very shocked that NFL folks could have heart issues. I assumed anyone with heart issues would be like 300 pounds eating McDonald's every day. So I was surprised that relatively healthy athletes could have any type of heart issues.
Well, it's true. That the majority of people, whether they're athletes or members of the general population, if you will, usually middle age and later is the prime time for atherosclerotic heart disease to strike and cause serious problems. But even in the younger age groups, 20s, 30s, there is atherosclerosis, and certainly it's not too early to assess LDL cholesterol in the teens and the 20s to see if you're genetically predisposed to the risk of elevated cholesterol.
And, this is very interesting that you mentioned that, Dr. Roberts, because when I was in my 20s, I went to see my doctor, and she had started to show me in the, you know what this is called, when you get a...
Echocardiogram.
Yes.
Ultrasound.
Ultrasound. Thank you.
You had that test at that young age?
Yes, she suggested I do. And I was quite shocked when she said she started to see that some of my arteries or in the heart that there was some fat forming. And I thought, well, that seems impossible. I don't eat that unhealthily, I thought. And she said to me, okay, tell me what you're eating. And what it was, I was having tuna sandwich every day and a can of Coke. But what I wasn't taking into effect is most of my food throughout the day was healthy, except I was having one bag of potato chips a day with my sandwich. And she said, that's it. You need to cut that out. So for those folks who are out there who might think, hey, I'm fairly healthy, explain for them a little bit about what LDL cholesterol is and how dangerous it is and how it might insipidly play into your diet without you realizing it.
Yes, LDL cholesterol, low-density lipoprotein cholesterol, is a marker, and it's a fatty substance that is carried around by molecules in your blood and can, in many cases, get compressed into the wall of arteries within your body and, in the process, cause a lot of trouble. Mm-hmm. When one thinks of elevated LDL cholesterol, it's often associated with other disorders. For example, diabetes, high blood pressure, poor appetite and a poor diet, lack of exercise, cigarettes, too much alcohol. All of these factors, to some extent, affect the body and affect the risk of having elevated cholesterol and what it might do to adversely affect your life. And the usual bad effects related to high cholesterol and some of these other associated abnormalities is heart attack and stroke.
And is it major contributing factor diet first and maybe exercise second? What would you see as the major contributing factor? Because you had mentioned diabetes and other issues, but I'm assuming what comes first? Those things first and then heart disease, or is it kind of show up together often?
Well, in some cases, there's a serious genetic component of heart disease, and that can be detected at a very early age. Most types of high cholesterol problems occur some years later in life. At least they're detected later in life. And all of those assorted risk factors that we talked about are key in helping to determine how healthy an individual is with normal or elevated cholesterol. The treatment when the cholesterol is very elevated, and especially when the individual patient has a risk of serious clinical problems over a 10-year period, which can be tested by the doctors. When all of these factors come together, and especially with diabetes and LDL cholesterol of greater than 190, which is very high, those factors put you at any individual at high risk for heart attack and stroke. The important thing in terms of treatment is to lower one's cholesterol to an acceptable level, and that acceptable level could vary depending on the person and the associated risk factors that person has. But in addition, control of blood pressure and blood sugar or diabetes is important, and a good diet and healthy exercise routine are essential for fighting the ill effects of cholesterol heart disease.
This is intriguing for me. Now I can understand why my doctor in my mid-20s asked me to get an echocardiogram, because actually I have a family of a lot of heart disease going on. My grandma, my mother, my dad, so that makes sense. Now, for people out there who might have a genetic component that might make them more at risk and say they're doing everything right in their diet, are those the type of people maybe that should get regularly checked to make sure they're okay, to see where they're at as far as how their heart is performing?
No question. If a younger person has a certain genetic predisposition that is identified by genetic testing, then they're at high risk for problems as their life ensues. And they have to be monitored and watched carefully and treated vigorously to help them live as healthy as possible.
And tell me, what really prompted you to participate in the film Heartfelt?
Well, a couple of things. The major thing was that I had retired from heart surgery, which I was for some 25 years, and I was concentrating most of my clinical attention to the retired NFL football players. And in the process, we developed a system where we would have a traveling team of doctors and nurses and technicians and data collecting folks, and we would travel around the country partnering with hospitals in different parts of the country and inviting the retired NFL players from that particular area to come in for testing, which was part of a study and was used to provide them with good identification of disease and treatment. And in many cases, we were, I believe, very helpful in helping these individuals, former football players, to live happier and healthier. And it was part of a study so we could learn in the process and they could be part of that learning process. And we could help others to follow the same treatment plans that we suggested for the football players.
This gets me thinking, Dr. Roberts. I'm wondering if folks who are highly athletic tend to maybe eat unhealthily sometimes, thinking that, hey, I exercise very hard, I should be able to get away with eating more steak and burgers and all that jazz. Have you find that to be the case with some athletes or not really?
No, I think that's a good point that you make. And especially in football, where large body size, especially in certain positions like the linemen, they often eat a lot of calories, a lot of meat, and they grow to be large body size people. And we were somewhat surprised when we found out that indeed persistent large body mass or large body size in individuals, whether they're football players or they're not, a major risk factor for them in terms of cardiovascular disease. The process of treating these former NFL players in various hospitals, that's when the Heartfelt video was put together by Sanofi and Regeneron. And process, we invited the players that were going through the testing out in the Los Angeles area to come in and be tested and to tell their stories and their histories and how they coped with the problem of large body size and in some cases associated high cholesterol. And we went through all of the steps that were necessary, even at that later stage of life, fully grown, they could make changes that would minimize their risk for heart attack and stroke going into the future. So that video was a wonderful production, and I would encourage everyone in the audience to see this video. And indeed, they see the video on takedowncholesterol.com website, and the video is called Heartfelt, and I think it's terrific in explaining the cholesterol problem, how to take care of it, and whether you're an athlete or a non-athlete, you can learn a lot looking at that video.
Indeed, I did. And I was quite amazed to see perfectly strong athletes in the film, as well as musicians, people who you would see in the street and totally think these are very healthy looking people. Some of them, I would never think that they would have heart issues. And I think, I don't know about you, but I heard people say that it's a silent killer, that you can appear to be healthy on all fronts, but could be having issues with your heart. So I think it's an important film for everyone to check out and to find out your cholesterol levels and find out what are they an issue? Is it something you have to take care of? And I have one question I'm curious about for myself, and that is, do you see that you can resolve high LDL with diet alone, or do you feel that if it's bad that you should incorporate drugs? Or is it different for every person?
That's a good question. And it is an individual question that you have to deal with your doctor. And certainly diet and exercise and really finely detailing kind of diet and the calories and the portion size and giving it a strong effort, often very helpful in lowering blood sugar and lowering cholesterol. So not everyone has to be treated by statins, the most common form of treating high cholesterol that's available. There are other alternatives now that are available as well. But surely you, as long as your cholesterol is not wildly elevated, for example, your LDL cholesterol being over 190 or 200, as long as it's not elevated in that area, you can try, with your doctor's guidance, a good diet, good exercise program, and stress modification. So often in our lives, faced with dilemmas that have us worry, and that to aggravate heart disease and probably aggravates coronary artery disease. So I think there's many things one can do, but cholesterol-lowering medication, whether it's with a statin or other medications, is important to consider if you need it.
Yeah. Well, I like that you mentioned that. And also you just mentioned there briefly stress. And that was something quite prominent in my life a couple years back. And my doctors were like, you either get that under control or you're going to be here in a heart attack or a huge stroke. So, yeah, that's an important factor, which I think often gets missed. You know, we think about the diet and, of course, the exercise, but also handling stress in your life.
And a good night's sleep is very important.
We can't forget about the sleep either. Well, Dr. Roberts, I want to thank you again. This has been truly informational and awesome. Everyone, please go visit takedowncholesterol.com and watch the film Heartfelt today so you can find out what you need to know for your heart's health. Heartfelt. And Dr. Roberts, I want to thank you again for coming to share this invaluable information on Savvy Central Radio.
Well, I enjoyed talking to you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Now, here's our interview with Coach Nick.
Hi, Nick. Welcome to Savvy Central Radio. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for having me here.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you. You are doing wonderful work out there. You're doing a wonderful weekly series, coaching series, where you're helping people through a variety of entrepreneur issues. And it's just so awesome that you're giving so freely of yourself, your time and your effort as a coach. And I love how you branded it. You call yourself the conscious warrior entrepreneur. I love that. So share a little bit about your journey and what brought you to being a conscious entrepreneur warrior.
Sure. Fantastic. Thanks. Well, the Conscious Warrior, the brand I Am a Conscious Warrior, I guess the first thing that I want to say is I didn't invent that, like the idea of Conscious Warrior. There's thousands and probably millions of Conscious Warriors all over the world, people who identify themselves as Conscious Warriors. And so my brand is I Am a Conscious Warrior, meaning, hey, I'm one of the thousands and possibly millions of Conscious Warriors in the world right now. And how I came to be saying I am a conscious warrior is, like many of us, I started my business and I started down the entrepreneurial path. And in the entrepreneurial path, it actually became more of a spiritual journey for me. I didn't know this when I started it. I started it with all the worldly desires that I think everybody starts it with. More money, more time, more lifestyle, and all these things, which are great and they're beautiful to attain. However, the path actually became more of a spiritual journey because what I realized was that I couldn't make any more money than I was making. I made about $30,000 my entire life, and I struggled to ever go beyond that mark. What I realized is that I had to go into a personal development mode. I had to go inside myself, and of course, this became my conscious journey to become conscious of myself. And I'll share this. It's a quick story, but it is my transformation story. So I was hooked on drugs. I was drinking. I was doing all this stuff, even as I was going down my spiritual journey. So I've had many different businesses. I've had lots of success and lots of failures. I've experienced lots of ups and downs. But my biggest journey was with addiction. And breaking my addiction to drugs. And I finally grew enough to be brave enough to say, you know what, I'm done with this. This no longer serves me. And there was this day, I remember it, and I took all my pipes and I took all my stuff and I threw it down the toilet and I threw all my lighters and pipes and everything away. And I threw everything away. And I was sitting there and I felt empowered on day one. And by day two, I was a mess. I was going through massive withdrawals. And I was just, felt so uncomfortable in my own body, and I couldn't function. I couldn't think. I couldn't even sit still or anything. I was all over the place. And I had been following a contemporary shaman for some time on Facebook. And for whatever reason, I was drawn to her, and I reached out to her, and I had never even talked to her before. And I reached out to her and I just poured my heart out in this Facebook message and said, here's where I am. Here's what I'm going through. Can you help? And she said, absolutely. Come see me tomorrow. And so I did. So I went and I got in my car, and this is on the east coast of Canada, New Brunswick, and I'm driving 2 hours into the middle of New Brunswick, the middle of nowhere. And of course, this is where, some people will call this spiritual warfare, where the little voice inside your head, you've got the analogy of the devil and the angel on your shoulder. So I had the devil really loud that day on me going, my own little voice inside going, Nick, what are you doing? What are you going and going and seeing this lady for? And this is all hocus pocus stuff. You're not going to get anything from it. I'm so thankful that I broke through that. I went. And when I showed up, first of all, she was nothing of what I expected. She was absolutely an amazing lady. She welcomed me into her home. And we started to go into basically an energy session. And in about 45 minutes or so, somewhere in this session, I just felt this weight just release from me. And tears started streaming down my eyes. And I remember saying, I carry the frustration of my father. I want to make that clear because I didn't really know even what that meant. I don't even know why I said it, but that's what came out of my mouth. Now, it's not my father. Yes, there is lineage stuff. We have to know that we are carrying the weight of our past, of our lineage. But it's not just my father. It's not like, I carry just the weight of my father. But what I realized is I was carrying the weight of the world. I was carrying all of the world's stuff with me, unknowingly, subconsciously. And in that moment, I was able to release that. I was able to really realize that I'm me. I'm an individual. That day I came home, and I remember I got together with Sarah, my girlfriend, and we meditated together. And for the next few days, I would wake up every single morning absolutely alive with the sun. The sun would wake up, and I would naturally wake up. And this became my conscious journey. And ever since that moment, I realized a lot of things about myself, and my life has been flourishing ever since. Now, I don't want to say that it all changed overnight and that was it. I had this sort of moment and that was it. No, it started to take work. I realized in my conscious awakening that I got to get to work and that there needs to be courage behind my work. And so what ended up happening is my brand ended up being born. It was revealed to me as I am a conscious warrior. And so really entrepreneurship is such a vehicle where we have to become conscious to face our limiting beliefs, to face the demons that live within us and really look and shine light on them with love and compassion. And we got to be warriors because being an entrepreneur is a leap of faith, right? As I know you know, and everybody listening right now knows that we are stepping into an unknown. We're taking the safety net or the perceived safety net anyways, and we're ripping it from underneath us. And now we're warriors. We're standing out there going, all right, we're carving our own path. And this became my brand and my mission, and this became who I am today.
Wow. Such an inspirational journey, and one I'm sure in different ways that others in the audience, including myself, can relate to. And I found that in the past 4 years since I started my own journey in entrepreneurship, it's been such a transformational journey, and not one that I would have anticipated back in corporate. That you think you just start a business, what do you call it? Clients are just come streaming through the door because you have this wonderful product, service, or information. And it's not generally the case. But what I found is it pushed me to the very edge of the cliff. And then there were times I'm just, dangling there like, no, I don't want to fly. I don't want to fly. But when I just jumped off each individual thing, a new task, a new big thing that I'm stretching myself beyond my comfort zone, when I would just jump off the cliff and do it, I was like, wow, look what I did. I didn't know I could do that. That's pretty amazing. And so it grows bit by bit by bit. It's not, and that's interesting, Nick, because I think people think that the so-called idea of success, this elusive idea of reaching success is a one-step journey. Ooh, you wake up one day, I'm here, I'm successful, I make millions of dollars. but really, it's really a spiritual journey because, you can make millions of dollars and be spiritually poor. So, I mean,
Yes.
yeah, so it's really not a one-step process. I mean, really, it's an ongoing journey, life journey.
That's it. And I always use the analogy. I mean, I think we all know this story. I always say, I always remind people, remember that the tortoise beat the hare.
Yeah.
Not that it's a competition or a race, but that analogy of the tortoise and the hare, I never really understood it as a kid. But as I became an adult and started going down this journey and learning and expanding my own knowledge, that story really stood out to me. And I was like, what was it about the tortoise that beat the hare? Well, the tortoise moved at the same pace every single day. He just stayed consistent. While the hare, went in flurries, then had to rest, and went in flurries and have to rest. And the other analogy that I like to use is a plant. So you ever heard the term helicopter parent?
Oh, yes.
Okay, right? Like, parents that hover over their kids that are trying to protect them, right? Well, I use the term helicopter entrepreneur, right? So I said, these are entrepreneurs that are all over their business. And this used to be me. That's why I know it, right? Because I used to be on my business 24/7. I just got to grow. But then as I began to make this a spiritual journey, began to reveal new ways of growth. And how does growth actually happen? So I imagine planting a seed in some soil. If I planted a seed today in soil and then I stood over it and said, grow, right? You laugh, right? Everybody laughs because they think, well, that's nuts.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing to your business. Most of us are doing that to our business where we put out a piece of marketing material and we're like, come on, grow.
Where's the money? I put it out last week. I should have people streaming through the door now.
That's exactly it, right? Where is everybody? But no, really, think about it. It's actually, this is where your faith needs to come in because it's actually quite out of your control if that plant grows or not. You have to go, what is in my control? My control is, okay, I plant this seed, put the soil on the seed, and then I begin to water it. So in my control, I can water the seed, I can put good nutrients in the soil, and I can make sure that seed and the plant pot gets lots of sunshine. I can control that, right? I can do everything that I can so that I can set up the context or the space around it so that it will grow. And then what ends up happening is if we do consistently the things that we're supposed to do, so we give it enough nutrients, we give it enough sunshine, we give it enough water, what ends up happening is your plant begins to take a life of its own. And always remember, one seed produces many fruit. So concentrate on one thing, give it the time, plant your seed, now do your part, do your good marketing. There's your nutrients, right? Hang around with the right people and get the right education. There's your sunshine. And continue to do your daily activities that continue to drive in new people towards your business and your mission. There's your good soil, your good nutrients, or your water.
Yeah.
And then your business, on its own time, will take a life of its own. And as it begins to take a life of its own, you'll see this plant sprout, and this plant will bring leaves, and these leaves will bring fruit. And what does fruit bring? More seeds. And now you've multiplied. So you can be fruitful and multiply, but you got to understand the process, and you don't need to hover over your business. In fact, if I see you hovering over your business, then I want you to ask yourself, how much faith do I have in my business?
Yeah. Yeah. That is a really, really awesome point that you brought up, because I think we get scared that things aren't moving fast enough. And we talked even before the interview. I know I've discussed with friends, I think in our culture in Canada as well as the United States, we have an idea that success is a one-step process, that you look at a business or individual who's created what looks like to the outside world success. And we just mentioned before that having millions of dollars in the bank account isn't necessarily success. There are some people who have millions of dollars, maybe even billions, who are very spiritually poor. So that is not the only measure of success. It can be one, but it's the whole combination of your growth in all areas of your life. And it's not a one-step process. It's an ongoing process. And to have that faith and understanding that once you plant the seeds, and you mentioned something very important, allowing that space. And that space isn't just a matter of doing all the right practical things, but also all the internal things to let it grow. That means letting go, and by letting go, meaning surrender. And I don't know about you, Nick, but when I've taken those moments where God has directed me, like he has to start the show and then do our live shows and video productions and all that jazz, when I've taken the call and followed suit and let go of the results that I think should happen, that's when the magic happens.
Absolutely. I shared my transformation story, right? And I've been on a tremendous spiritual journey, and I've studied, some of the Buddha Sutras, the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, different native traditions, and I'm very open. And one thing that I see all across the board is this one thing and this one message, which is devotion, loving God.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. And that's it. And you know what? I used to shy away from that, even though I started to realize it in my own life, that this was the secret, the real secret, right? The real secret was, we live in a world that we put faith in our marketing material, but not faith in God.
Yes.
Faith in our hard work, but not faith in God. Here's the truth. I work less now than I've probably ever worked in my life. Now, I'm not saying I don't work hard. I don't want to downplay it.
Yeah.
I work hard, and I've had to work hard for a number of years to be where I'm at today. That doesn't work as hard. But anybody that knows me knows that I work hard, and I get up in the morning like everybody else, and I put in my time and my effort. I do, but here's the thing. I also have more time in my life than I've ever had before, because I've honed the skills, and I've learned that busy isn't productive.
Oh, yes. Oh, my God. Amen.
Right. I don't want to be busy. When people are like, I'm so busy, I'm like, oh, you're probably not getting a lot done then.
Right? Let's go here. When you mentioned, having a love for God and faith in God. Now, God has led me in each of my steps. He is the one that kind of prompted me and stood by me when I left corporate, when I started my show. And then actually when I said, what's next? He showed me a picture of me doing in front of a live audience being videotaped. I was like, I don't think so. But what's very interesting, Nick, is that I have my own expectations of what I think God means or wants. And, okay, that means I'm going to have, 100 people in the audience. I must make XYZ in sponsorship. All these things that I'm making up in the top of my head that had nothing to do with God's vision that he granted me and the direction he's pointed me for a reason of which I don't know the end result. I mean, the end result might turn out in 5-10 years to be totally different in the steps I take. But I think what has slowed me down sometimes in my growth is thinking that things have to show up in a certain way. And not having faith that, let God show you the one step in front of another, take that effort, but know that don't be attached to the end result.
That's exactly it. And I mean, this is where we get a lot of what we're hearing today, which I do appreciate, is like being in the present moment. Mm-hmm. Because God lives now, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Right here, right? As we're having this conversation, God is present in this conversation. And so if we're present in the conversation, then you can see that his hand is directing it. Last night I got to share with you, I watched the movie The Prince of Egypt. I love that movie, right? And in the Prince of Egypt, there's this one song, and the song starts off with him basically saying, look at your life through heaven's eyes. He says, you can't see the purpose of your life because you're one little thread in this intricate fabric.
Yeah.
So in the movie he shows this this carpet, and he kind of picks off the thread, and he says, "You're this one thread, and you feel sometimes like you've got no purpose. You're just this little thread in this intricate carpet. But what you can't see is the carpet. But if you look at life through heaven's eyes, then you begin to see the big picture or the big carpet, and you begin to realize how everything is connected and interwoven. So therefore, all you really ever need to do is be present in your life and go, okay, what is the next step, or what is it that you want me to do right now? And so if you're watching this show or listening to this show, right? That's where you're meant to be. So listen with your full presence. So don't check your Facebook, put down the cell phone, be with it. And what you'll actually hear is so much more than if you're listening to the show, plus you're trying to, type text to somebody, plus you're trying to send off that email. I got to get that email done because it's so important. It's not. What's important is whatever you're engaged in at the moment.
That is such a good point to mention, because I think myself included, and someone gave me a kind of a manister for this, and that is that often my boyfriend will call me after work and we'll be on the phone. I'll just click on the Facebook and start scrolling down, and my friend saw me and said, how disrespectful are you being to your partner who's trying to talk to you right now, but you're on Facebook, liking stuff or putting a comment here. How present are you to your partner at that moment? And, she kind of, woke me up, and I said, that's silly. I need to click off the cell phone, put it down. And I think more than ever, this is something we need to pay attention to, maybe have off periods, have your phone on from 9 to 5 and then turn the thing off for the rest of the day.
Absolutely. And I love that you shared that story, because one of the first things is we need to be open about it, because we're all guilty of that, me included, right? So we just need to be open about it. It's not something to be like, oh, I'm a horrible person or anything like this. No, we're all guilty of it, right? Yeah. And now, but again, this is consciousness. You become aware. Somebody helped you and said, hey, you know what? You're that's a little bit disrespectful, or you're not very present to the person that you're with, to your partner, the person you love. And what always reminds me of this is, it's funny, because we all, we're entrepreneurs, we're out there, we're building our businesses, and our businesses are very important to us, right? However, if we always ask, why did we start this business? It normally wasn't for a business. Maybe we started the business to have a lifestyle, or we started a business to share a mission, or we started the business maybe to have more money. And why did we want more money? To spend more time with our families or the people we love. Never let your business then become the priority. The business is there to provide you with a life.
A vehicle.
Yeah, it's the vehicle. So great. We all need to provide. Great. You have value. I've got value. Everybody here has value. Offer that value to the world. Build a nice business doing it. Enjoy it. And then take the fruits of that and make sure that you remember why you started it. What was the priority? And I got lost in that in my own business. My business became my priority. But again, this was my own journey as I started to become more conscious and started to become more devotional to God and started to say, you know what, I'm going to give my love there. And what ended up happening is my priorities naturally began to reshift. And it's funny, my business is doing better than ever. And yet, like I mentioned before, I don't actually spend as much time on my business, but it's doing better than ever, because when we are in the right space, when we have the right intentions in our heart, and we're keeping the priority, then we're fully supported in that. Yeah. We're fully supported and we'll be fully taken care of. But of course, that takes a tremendous amount of faith, because right now we live in a society that tells you opposite. It tells you need to work hard. Yeah. But I look out in the world and I see many people working hard.
Yes.
In fact, most people work hard, so we don't lack hard work. This is not the case. Just look into your community, look into your neighborhood. You will see so many hardworking people. But are they financially successful? Are they spiritually successful? Are their relationships healthy? Most people no. And that's the sadness, and not just the sadness, but it's also the opportunity. Because one thing I always say is, our challenge is our opportunity. If we look out into the world and we see all these hardworking people, but yet they don't have the fulfillment they want, great, fine. Let's look at that and go, well, why? Well, maybe then maybe we need to realize that hard work isn't the secret.
Yeah, I love that you just went there, because I know that our culture is kind of like, oh, hard work equals being really super successful. And it's interesting. I've grown doubled or tripled this past year in my business. And I've actually realized that all this time I was spending last year, doing these newsletters or a whole bunch of things I put on my plate that I was told I needed to do to grow my business, because everyone's doing it and you need to do a newsletter once a week with an inspirational story. And at the end, sell a little something. And I said, well, who decided that's something that every single person needs to do? Or say a podcast. Not every single business is going to be served by doing a podcast or a vlog. I mean, it depends on you and the person and where you're being led. So this past year, I just made it more about following God's call and saying, okay, where do you need me to go to do this that you're directing me to do? Is it a newsletter once a week? Is it this? Where is my time best spent? And actually, I am doing some of the things that I did prior, like a newsletter, but now once a month. But I am leaving it up to, where I'm being directed instead of where I'm being told from all the different directions from entrepreneurs in public of what I need to do, quote unquote.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And it's the first thing is to recognize that we're all different and we all have unique strengths and gifts. So for instance, a blog, because they're an amazing writer, is going to be a great thing. For me, having a blog is not that going to be that effective, because I naturally am a better speaker. So what I have, as you mentioned at the beginning of the show, is I have a weekly hangout show. Why? Because I'm good on camera. I can hold the audience. That's my natural gift. So I'm going to use my natural gift. And then as you grow the business, see, here's what I always tell people. Like, I have a very simple system to growing my business. It's so simple. I used to have a complicated, it was these like fancy marketing funnels, and you got like 10 lead pages going on and all this kind of stuff, right? And then I just wiped all that out. And I have a very simple system. Facebook, I use it very well. So here I hear this all the time. Oh, Nick, you got to be on Periscope, and you got to be on Instagram, and you got to be on this, and you got to be on that. And I'm like, no, I don't. All I actually really need to do, and here's the thing about my system, I can build my entire business just on Facebook. That's it.
Yeah. And it's basically how you strategically use whatever source you're using. I find that I get a lot greater, deeper connections on Facebook, but sometimes people want to be a little less businessy and more personal. And then on LinkedIn, per se, I get more serious folks, like let's seal the deal today type of folks. And I find those two platforms in particular have been instrumental in growing my business, because here's the thing. I don't know about you, Nick, but I love connecting with people, and not just through the podcast, but live one-to-one or face-to-face, if we can do a Skype thing, or maybe the Zoom mechanism, which also allows for face-to-face, is really, really connecting with the person one-on-one. And that essentially has really grown my business, because I'm connecting with a real life human being, and that's who your customers are going to be, real life human beings, not this little, icon in a Facebook or Twitter or wherever.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's one thing. I have a Facebook marketing program, right? And in my program, it's a video program that takes you through my entire Facebook system. And in the program, I say, look, likes, comments, and shares are great, but they are not your key measurement. What is your key measurement is conversations. Real conversations. So driving people from, let's say, a post. So let's say I make a post, someone likes it. I take that like and I send them a message. In that conversation, then I do exactly what you're talking about. Hey, I really like to connect with people. Can I connect with you? Let's do a Skype meet and greet or whatever platform. Then we get onto a call. That is a real relationship now. And now I build real relationships. And then I find the value. And sometimes it's them becoming my clients. Sometimes it's vice versa. They have something to teach me where I'm like, you know what? I could really use that. Let's do something. Sometimes it's about creating maybe a joint venture or opportunities. Sometimes it's nothing more than a great relationship. I've met someone new, and maybe something down the line we're going to do something. Either way, the key is I'm not really ever, like, yes, of course I'm out there looking for clients, but really what I'm looking for is to serve first. My whole intention is, how can I help you? Maybe I can have you as a guest on my show, and that's going to help you promote your show. Maybe I have a program or a coaching group that would be beneficial for you. But if it's not, I'm not going to just try to sell it to you.
Absolutely.
I'm going to say, you know what? I know somebody, though, that can help you. And so if you go out there with the intention to create value, you will do better. But if you go out there with the intention to make sales, you will notice it will be a struggle.
Yeah, that is a fabulous point that you make, because when I really connect with people, and there will be people who I'm like, we're really not a good fit. You're not my target audience. It's not going to fit. I'm not going to just, say, hey, come on my show. Because there's some people who said, hey, I like that you have so many listeners. I want to come on. I say, you know what? I think it's going to harm you, because our listenership is not your target market. And I just don't want to have you on just because. But hey, I know a whole bunch of other hosts that would be fabulous for you, and they'd love to have you on. Let me introduce you. And, I've had wonderful people who've either been guests or have become friends through Skype or Facebook or LinkedIn, and they've referred other business to us because of the relationship. So yeah, like you said, it all starts with service and building a real, true relationship with a human being.
That's exactly it. The real wealth is in your network.
Yeah.
Is in your relationships. That is what I think I learned. And I think that anybody that I know that is experiencing success in business, so I'll just define that as they have a growing business that continues to grow and provide them the lifestyle that they want, they value relationships. And they understand that the power is really in building great relationships and network. And so that is the essence of business, because we also live in a world that's become very impersonal. So now it's rare to have a relationship. Like I was doing my Facebook system. This was about 2 or 3 days ago. And I reached out to this one lady, and she sent me back this beautiful message and said, thank you so much for reaching out to me. And because what I had basically just, I look at everybody's profile. I get to know them before I reach out. So I'm, not just fly by night, but again, I'm looking for real relationships. And she was actually so impressed by that what she did is she took a screenshot of our conversation. She made a post about it on her page and said, here is how you do it, kind of thing. Right. Obviously those aren't her exact words, but basically she then just gave me tons of exposure to her audience, simply because I didn't reach out to her and say, hey, like my Facebook page. Hey, here's my website. Can you give me a like? No, I can't give you a like. I don't even know you.
And that drives me crazy with the Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever. A follow, a like, or whatever doesn't mean that you really have followers. Like sometimes I feel, you have 10,000 followers. That you're so influential. And I'm like, they could be 10,000 robots, for heaven's sakes. I mean,
absolutely.
And that's why I always say, please really reach out to people and get to know them. And it's interesting. You mentioned a key thing about impersonal. And there are some businesses I met on Facebook, and I said to them, hey, let's connect. I've been, followed you on Facebook or Twitter. And they said, who the heck are you? And they get kind of like a defensive, like, why are you contacting me? And I'm thinking, because I want to have a real relationship, and I like what you have to offer. I like your services. I want to find out more about you. What brought you to starting your own business? And sometimes when they get on the phone with me, they're like, wow, no one's ever asked me to really go deeply on my passion and my purpose. But people are really so suspicious. It's become an age of disconnectedness. And let's just send that text because it's much more safe. And it's scary, Nick. I even see medium to super large businesses who don't have an actual phone number to reach a live human being.
Yeah, so and there's actually in some people are taking the philosophy of automation, right? Which is great. Like I mean, I use automated emailing and things. I'm not saying don't automate it, but when you can't reach somebody, then we are losing the personal connections. And here's the thing. In this world right now, you will see that those who are finding success are those who are almost going back to the old school. This is why I call it the age of the entrepreneur, because corporations have run the show for a long time. It's been a corporate game. And what's happening is corporations are losing their grasp in the marketplace. And what you're seeing is the wealth, which is so heavily weighted to one side is actually going to begin to even back out as more entrepreneurs show up. Because what it will be is that we won't serve as many people, but what we will do is serve quality relationships. Right? I don't need to serve hundreds and thousands of people. If God has that in my plan, then I'm going to just going to let that plant grow. And wherever it grows to, that's not up to me. I'm going to do my activities and what I know to do, and I'm going to do it at the best of my ability. But what I do know is that I can serve 50, 100, 200 people right now, and I can serve them well. And I can also serve them through multiple platforms. So I've got leveraged programs. I've got coaching groups. My first book is actually being released in a couple weeks. Right? So these are all ways that I can serve my tribe or my people that are resonating with me, I should say, right? And I can serve them absolutely well and make sure that they get the results. And if it ends up being hundreds and thousands of millions of people's, fantastic. But that's never my goal. Right?
Yes, I totally get you, Nick. And I love that, going back to the original old-fashioned way of really connecting one-on-one with people. There's a marketer, Martin Lindstrom, I interviewed a couple of years ago. He has a new book out, and his whole idea is getting deep and personal with your clients. And what he's done with his marketing crew is he goes out and spends the weekend at his client's house, living with them, with their permission, of course.
Of course.
Yeah. It's like, no, I just let myself into your house and but what was really fascinating about that for me is that how do you get to know someone better than living in their own premises, their own house, their own sanctuary, and the privilege to be in their space and to get to share their time and with them. I was like, wow, that is such a fabulous idea. I mean, we've lost that super connectiveness, and that's what I think his business is doing, that's making him very successful. And it's just a beautiful way to really, really connect, because I think people are really hungry for that true, deep connection with one another.
Absolutely. I know in my own business, our clients and the people that we work with, they are conscious warriors. Like they claim themselves as well. Yeah, we are conscious warriors. We are with this. They are resonating because everybody that I work with are also mission-based entrepreneurs, right? So they're out there, they're doing positive things in the world. They're creating shifts and changes. And we're celebrating each other's wins and successes all the time. And what's interesting is my clients also know where I'm at. Like they know where I'm like, hey guys, I need some help. I have no problem reaching out to my clients and say, hey guys, I need some help on this. Does anybody have any knowledge on maybe, this particular subject? Yeah. And you know what? I go to my clients first for help, where I think some businesses think, oh, I have to show this game that I'm perfect. I have to play this game that I've got it all together. No, look, I'm very good at what I do. And the things that I'm not good at, I'm very open with it. So you know what? I'm not very good at, but I've got some clients right in my circle that are amazing at some things that I'm not. Well, guess what? I reach out to them first. So we create community, we create connection. And like I said, I'm there to serve. To truly serve and help people means you have to know them.
Yeah.
You can't really serve somebody if you don't know them.
Yeah, and I think it's so important to have community, and I've said this a million times on my show, that, there's a big myth that you can get there by the bootstraps and, it's only me and solo, and really that is so not true. Anyone super successful got there through community, not by themselves. And, I had a client a number of years ago when I was first starting my financial consulting business, and they were having some cash flow issues, and they could not make good on a lot of their orders. And they just wanted to lie to their clients and say, oh, well, the order's ready, please send me your 50% deposit. They pay 50% down, 50% when it's time to ship. Well, their hope was to get the 50% so they could start getting the materials to make the good, because they were having cash flow issues. And I said, whoa. That is a really bad idea. You've been in business 13 years. A lot of these people have been with you from day one. They love you. They trust you. And they'll understand. Tell them you've had difficulty. Be straight with them. And I bet you anything, they'll send you the other 50% just to help you out, so that you can not only fulfill their order, but keep your business doors open. And of course, they didn't take my advice. They're like, no, we can't do that. We're a business. It would make us look like, we don't have, as you said, your stuff together. But, they've since gone out of business. And it's sad, because it didn't have to be that way. The idea of I'm perfect, that's not true. No one has it going awesome all the time. And if you're honest with your customers, they'll understand.
Absolutely. I remember hearing this story about Richard Branson. Richard Branson was launching Virgin Air, and they had run into some financial troubles as on the day that literally the first plane was going to take off. It was their first Virgin Air flight. And the bank had basically said to Richard Branson, look, we're pulling all funding unless, these certain, bills or whatever needed to be paid, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Richard Branson got on the phone with his existing clients and said, this is the situation. Would you loan me some money? And his clients, who are in different businesses because he had such an amazing reputation with them, gave him the money to keep Virgin Air alive and going.
Mm.
And of course, Virgin Air is a success. And one of the things I love about Richard Branson is it wasn't actually him; it was his mother. I saw this interview where they interviewed Richard Branson's mother, and what they said is, they kind of asked her, why is Richard Branson so successful? And her answer was, from a young age, Richard Branson was never taught to think of himself. He was only taught to think of others. So you wonder, well, why is Richard Branson where he's at? Richard Branson has never experienced a bank. None of his business has gone bankrupt or anything like this, because he has a complete service mentality.
Wow, that is incredible, and a good lesson for us all to remember that if we come from that space, as you mentioned earlier, come from that space, allowing for service, that the rest will come together. And so and you were right before also by saying we need to start telling the truth to each other, because as a community we can all help each other grow to our most successful. But doing it alone and disconnected and not sharing the truth with each other because we think it's not going to make us look perfect enough, we all lose. So.
Absolutely, yeah. And you really, if you don't say where you're at, then you're robbing yourself of the opportunity of actually getting real help. Because nobody can help you unless we know where you're at. And it doesn't matter where you're at. Look, I've been negative bank accounts. I've been through a bankruptcy. I get it. It's cool. And it was only until I was actually willing to open up. I remember talking about a financial advisor, sitting with my financial advisor who was a client of mine. And I was so scared because I was actually in a horrible financial position. But it was so painful that I decided to be the warrior and just be brave, because I knew he could help me, but I didn't want to share where I'm at because he's a client. And I went to him and I said, look, here's where I'm at. I opened up my books. It's not pretty. What do you think? And he went through it. He made a few suggestions. He closed up the books. He says, Nick, please come to me sooner. Next time, there's something going on like this, I'll see you next week for coaching.
Oh, wonderful.
Not even a blink in his eye. Like it did not devalue me at all. All he basically said, and good for him, was come to me sooner, please.
Yeah, don't wait.
Yeah, don't wait. Yeah. And you know what? He gave me some great advice. And, I'm happy to say that my financial life now is the best it's ever been. It continues to grow. And you know what? It's not even my main focus. It's a thing. It's a tool.
Yeah,
great.
Absolutely.
We take care of our finances. Awesome. We got to have good finances. So it's, in our world, but it's not the focus. It doesn't consume me the way it used to.
That is so fabulous. Well, I've loved having you out here. It's been so informative and inspiring. Please let everyone know where they can find out more about you and check out your awesome hangout once a week.
Yeah, absolutely. Go to www.hangoutwithcoachnick.com. You can watch past episodes of my Google Hangout show. I've had some amazing guests on there, and we talk everything from mindset to entrepreneurial development, lead generation, everything you need to become a freedompreneur. And you can connect on all my social media sites and everything I've got going on right at hangoutwithcoachnick.com.
I love it. Freedompreneur, all of us join together to become a world of freedompreneurs and conscious warriors.
I love that.
Well, thank you again, Coach Nick, for coming to Savvy Central Radio and sharing your gifts and insight today on Savvy Central Radio.
Welcome to the Racing to Success Minute with Nadine Lajoie. Be yourself in business. Why a lot of people are just artificial, they are faking it, they are not really doing in business what they do in life. For example, if you are doing a lot of jokes and having a lot of fun in your life, do the same in your business. Don't try to be somebody that you are not, because people will feel it, and it will be harder for you to close the sale, to have more clients, to make more money. And if you don't make enough money, and if you are not authentic and be yourself, that will be hard for you to have the lifestyle that you want for you and your family. So be yourself inside and outside of the business, and it will be so much better. This is Nadine at NadineRacing.com.
Savvy Central Radio is home to over 100,000 listeners per month globally and runs in syndication on 8 AM and FM platforms, including iHeartRadio and 6 podcasting platforms. To find out more about our paid sponsorship opportunities or to become a guest and find out how we can help you get your message out to the world, call 718 area code 713-2289 or email at savvycentralradio@gmail.com.